Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How are you today? I hope you are all in good condition. So, we are from group 9. We are going to talk about written and spoken language. So, our member consists of 3 persons. There are Anggi, Wanda, Venalinda, Astri Almaidah, and myself, Bagus, Gumilar. So, our material today will be the definition of written and spoken language, their differences, grammatical intricacy, and the last is lexical density. So for the first is the definition of written and spoken language.
Okay, we will start from the definition of written and spoken language itself. The first is written language is the term form of communication which includes both reading and writing skill. Well, spoken language is the spoken form of communication orally that include speaking and listening skill. There are characteristics between spoken and written language. The first is written language tends to be more independent of its immediate context, and spoken language is typically more dependent on its context than written language. Now we move to the differences between spoken and written language. The first is spoken language involves speaking and listening skill, while written language involves reading and writing skill. Also, written language is more formal and context, while spoken language is more simple and more informal. Also, written language promotes communication across space and time, while spoken language is mostly used between two people in the same place and in the same time. It means that the spoken language is more directly communication than written language. And the last is written language. When we are using written language, we can use heading, punctuation, and layout. And when we use spoken language, we can use tone, pitch, and volume when we communicate with each other. Okay, there is one example of written and spoken language. For example, if someone read aloud a written language, for example, it is an essay, it doesn't mean that one is produced a spoken language. But if that one else explain the essay and presented it in the deeply explanation, it means that the person is used or produced the spoken language.
Grammatical intricacy refers to how often a clause complex appears in a text in comparison with simple clauses. Halliday suggests that spoken forms is not less highly organized than written discourse because it has own grammatical intricacy and also has its own complexities. For example, English clauses in spoken forms are more extended than of written form. Grammatical intricacy can be investigated in a spoken text from the speaker's utterance. It relates to the number of clauses per sentence and can be calculated by expressing the number of clauses in a text as a proportion of the number of sentences in the text. And grammatical words comprise preposition, conjunctions, auxiliary verbs, modal verbs, pronouns, and articles. The example, I can't mind these kids today because I must go to the football training. And I can't leave early because we've got an important game on Saturday. And if we win it, we go into the finals. But Wednesday is fine because I don't have training, so I can mind them then. If that's okay with you.
So the next is the lexical density. Lexical density defined as the number of lexical words, or we usually call it as content words, divided by the total numbers of the word. So, lexical density refers to a measure of the amount of the content information in a clause or in a text. It is calculated by dividing the number of content words in a clause complex by the number of clauses. So, lexical words are nouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs. So for the example is like this. The first example, if this method of control is used, trains will be unquestionably run safer and faster even when the weather conditions are most adverse. So in these sentences, there are three clauses and the number of lexical words such as method, control, used, trains, questionably run safer, faster, and weather condition adverse. It is totaled by 11, so the total of lexical density is 3.6. It means that these sentences are pretty informative. And the second example, you can control the trains this way, and if you do that, you can be quite sure that they'll be able to run safer and faster no matter how bad the weather is. So compared to the first example, it has 5 clauses and the lexical words, it is totaled by 8. So the lexical density will be 1.6. So there are also grammatical complexity and lexical sparse. Hey, I tell you what, there's a day I want to, this place, they call it Gucci. It's somewhere around the city. What do you call it? The city that people plant those salads and also lots of salted duck eggs. I think it starts with B or something. From here, it's rather far. I think it started to go. So in this paragraph, it has more varied structure for each sentence and using less of lexical words, such as the first sentence here. Hey, I tell you what, it's using an exclamation sentence, but in the second sentence, it's using interrogative sentence, and the third sentence using a declarative sentence, but it has a variation in each sentence in one paragraph. But compared to the previous slide, its grammatical simplicity and lexical tense. In here, we can see that this paragraph has many lexical words compared to the last paragraph, and this paragraph has simplified grammatical structure. All sentences have the same declarative sentence type. Alright, that's all from our group. I hope you enjoy your day and thank you for your attention for our presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.